let's talk about job after retirement. Why you should consider working after retirement and how to plan for it. Today on the Money Show, where we talk money, meaning, and making smarter financial choices at every stage of life, we'll be talking about a phase most people plan for, but a few plan beyond retirement also. You save, invest, and build a nest egg for decades, only to reach retirement and wonder what now. But here's the truth, retirement doesn't have to mean a full stop. For many, it can be a financially smart and personally fulfilling new chapter, whether it's about boosting income, staying mentally active, or just doing something purposeful. More and more people are now exploring work options after they retire. But how do you plan for it while you are still working? What kind of roles should you look for? What kind of financial health do you need before you take that call? To help us break it down, we are joined by a career counselor and financial planner who will help us understand the whys, the what, and hows of post retirement work. Dr. Geetanjali Kumar, practicing counselor. We also have Harshvardhan Rungta, CFP Rungta Securities. Hi, good evening, and welcome both of you. All right, do I have Harshvardhan connected? Harsh, can you hear me?
Savita, I can hear you.
Okay, so I just want to put down the first question to you because I want to understand, if someone wants to work post retirement, from a financial planner's lens or from a financial perspective also, why do you think it would be wise to work even after you've retired and saved enough?
So, well, Kavita, there are two elements to this. The first one being non-monetary in nature. So, the first one being, of course, I mean, you've worked all your life, you've been active right up to retirement. And thereafter, once you retire, I mean, you're not just going to use all that experience and the knowledge that you've got while you're working years to just while away doing nothing. So, you would want to, productively keep yourself occupied also, because it's very popularly said, an empty mind is a devil's workshop. So all the experience, all the knowledge that you've gained with your entire working life, it's about time that you could possibly work in the advisor's role or a consultant's role and possibly engage yourself in an activity which keeps you occupied. Now, on the other element that I mentioned was, of course, financial reasons. Now, invariably, even during our practice, when we are jotting down all the retirement goals, we are quantifying those goals, we come out with a number. Okay, we at this juncture, if I'm planning for somebody who's possibly 30 years down the line looking to retire, we're only making certain assumptions at this point in time that inflation will be at a certain percentage points, your lifestyle expenses will increase or decrease at a particular point. So we only make an estimation, and there are so many elements which are not a part of that calculation. Now, 9 out of 10 cases you will see, irrespective of how well you've planned, you will have some kind of financial constraints at the time of retirement. You cannot ideally have the required corpus accumulated with out of your savings that you make while you're earning, because expenses of the present day are also quite significant. So we are invariably somewhere short of our ideal retirement corpus, and that's the case with everybody. That most of the cases rather they have talk about. So post retirement, if you keep yourself engaged, now one, as I said, is non-monetary reasons that you keep yourself occupied, you will be productively engaged in some activity. It's a good way to be healthy and mentally occupied with something. And of course, the other one being a financial reason. I mean, you tend and you will generate some kind of income which will support you post retirement and fill that corpus that you have not, the deficit of that corpus which you're not able to accumulate by yourself. So I think in all sense, I wouldn't find any substantial reason for a person to say, look, hey, I hanged up my boots and now I don't want to do anything. I wake up in the morning, sit on my armchair, get back to my bed in the evening without doing anything throughout the day. I don't think that would justify monetary and the non-monetary reasons that I've spoken about.
That's a very good point highlighted by you, Harsh. And Gitanjali, we'll also focus more on those people, because see, we're talking about India, and in India, we know the kind of economic classes people belong to. It's not possible for everyone to be debt free by the age of 60. A lot of them still have some kind of financial liabilities, loans going on, having dependence on them. So, talking about people who really want to have an earning or an income, post 60, how can one identify what's the right kind of role for them? Because there has been a very long tenure when you've been doing one kind of a job. You've retired from that job, but now there's something different that you should be trying, or from the same sector because you cannot compromise or you cannot give away the fact that you do not need an income. You might have a financial portfolio. I mean, retirement, we always talk about doing the planning right from day one, but a lot of people don't land up doing it because they think about retirement when they are close to getting retired. Okay, so how can one really identify what's the right kind of role for them? Part-time, freelance, teaching, mentoring, or consulting. How can one go about it?
See, it's a very, I would say it's a very process based answer to it, that one has to be very patiently trying to first focus on the stage of why do I want to work? What is it only that I am short of my ideal corpus that I had planned for myself? Is it that financial reason, or it is a social connection reason, or it is a social service reason? What is my reason to work? So the first stage would be that one is able to identify that reason, and the second stage would be what are am I really enjoying what am I doing at the moment? Would I like to continue with it further, or I've had enough of this kind of a job profile, matlab where he's existing presently working. So then, what are my hobbies and interests? Would I like to take up a job in that area? Something I wish to do all my life, I wasn't able to do it. So some kind of self exploration, self awareness, self realization would definitely help that person to determine for himself as to what he or she wants to do. Then, my health status. Am I fit and fine? Do I have the energy and stamina to take up a 9 to 5 job? Or I'm looking at some flexible working hours because I have some domestic responsibility. My children are married. So my son looks at me picking up his baby from the bus stop and doing the baby care facility, providing the baby care facilities to my young son and daughter-in-law. So the domestic constraints would also impact my decision for my post-retirement job options that I'm looking at. Then what kind of a compensation? Am I fixated at a certain kind of compensation, or something, or whatever keeps trickling in, I'm happy with that? And then my existing skill set, am I willing to learn? Do I have that willingness to pick up the new skills and upgrade myself? So all these kind of all these stage or all these parameters will a person will have to consider for himself or herself before he or she picks up decides to take up a new kind of a job. Am I good at consultation, or there is something which I always wanted to do? So pura, it is going to be a 360-degree approach which that person will have to take for himself to actually navigate the future course of his career options post retirement.
Sure. Sure. Harsh, the question I'm about to ask, you've already answered a large part of it, but I still want you to help our viewers in understanding what are the key financial milestones one should actually, ideally achieve before opting to work again. Now, I'm talking about being debt free. I'm talking about that very important status, which most of us see us in that situation, even post 60, debt free status, health insurance, pension income, etc. How can we go about this, and what will be the ideal status at that time?
So, well, Kavita, in terms of financial standpoints, on a blueprint on the financial side, well, one, of course, the basic hygiene stuff. If your active income is going to stop, you should not have any EMIs on you post that. So, you may be a pensioner for all you know. If you're a government employee, say for example, and you know for sure that you're going to get certain amount of pension, ideally in that situation also you try and avoid any EMIs on yourself, because post retirement, irrespective as much as you may provide for, there could be health emergencies which could be over and above what a medical insurance would cover. It could be over and above what your medical cover is totally up to. So you may have a cover of 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, but your medical expenses could go beyond that. There could be some kind of expenses which are OPD in nature. So then you may have to just keep incurring those expenses and do not get reimbursed even from a medical policy. So there are host lot of expenses. We make an estimation of how long a person is likely to live based on average mortality, and we make certain calculations to say that look, if you're estimated to live up to the age of 80 and you're retiring at 60, what is the kind of corpus you need so that you can sustain that entire period of 20 years post working years? Now, that could also be wrong in that estimation. A person, God willingly, will live longer than 80 years of age as well. What happens in those times? there is inflation which you are accounting for, which is probably just a nominal inflation, which or a CPI number which government gives you. But personal inflation could be much higher than what statistics actually suggest. So you have actually do not know. There are so many moving parts post retirement that it is very difficult to come to an ideal number that you need at the time of retirement. So that is the specific reason we state that there should not be any liabilities in the form of loan repayments post retirement. Let it be a totally debt free retirement so that everything that you get is what you're going to get net in your hand and it's not going to go towards any EMIs and you have no outstanding loans at that point in time. So one is being debt free. The second, you need to ensure that you have adequate health insurance. You rightly pointed that out because as inflation keeps going up post retirement, the medical cost will also keep rising. So if you are retiring at 60 and believe that 10 lakhs is sufficient, that 10 lakhs may be sufficient for 5 years post 60, but it may not be sufficient after 5 years after your age of 65 and above. And at that point in time, to get a new health cover or increase your health cover would become extremely difficult. And mind you, also remember the premiums will keep rising even post retirement. So there is a lot of areas which are not calculated for in the financial planning element. So you have to have provisions for that. And if you can do that by possibly part-time work or a full-time work post-retirement, it works for your good mental health, it works for physical health, and it also works to supplement your income at that point in time. So yes, basic hygiene stuff, keep no liabilities in yourself, try and have roof over your head so that you don't have to depend on rent or keep moving around. So try and build at least that one house that you can leave it. So food, clothing, shelter, roti, kapda, makan. I think these are the three things that you should be very clear that you should have it and adequate provisions at the time you retire.
Sure. Gitanjali, I want to take a moment over here and understand from you the importance of upgrading and upskilling. Okay. How can you, before retiring or before your retirement age, because the trend that we see, retirement is not restricted only till 60, but in this scenario, we are talking about people who want to, do something post 60. But having said that, how can one actually give more thrust to learning new skills and maybe upgrading themselves while they are in the job? Because, do you think it becomes difficult for people to learn a new skill at the age of 50 or 60? I know it all depends on the intent and, how much josh do you have to, do something new. A lot of people might just want to get into entrepreneurship. All that is fine, okay? But how do you lay the land for it while you are in your 40s or, when you have considerable amount of time to retire, but you want to make a plan for it?
See, age, as you very rightly say, okay, it depends upon person. So age is just a number. One, two, whether I want to actually hang up my boots at 60 or I still want to continue wearing my boots at 60. That's going to be one personal decision of a person. Then we have a lot of research studies, especially the Asia Developmental Policy Report, which was released in May 2024. It comes out with four critical indicators of well-being. And those four critical indicators of well being in older people are health, productive work, economic security, and social engagement. If we keep these four parameters in mind, which is affecting the physical and the mental health of every individual who's 50 plus and looking at his life beyond 60. So, when now, if I don't have actual liabilities, certain responsibilities as a family person, mujhe karna hai, my children are well educated and well settled. So, how do I meaningfully lead my life? How do I feel important and productive in my life? If these are the questions that crop up in my mind, these are the thoughts which rob me of my attention and my well-being at times, then certainly I will have the urge and desire to think about my career plans post retirement. And when I look at life post retirement, my existing skill set, is it going to be enough? So there is a certain kind of a matchmaking which the person will do in his state of introspection about himself and the job demands at that time, that when he or she retired at 60, what will be the kind of job demands, the experience which I have, will that be worthwhile? Will I Can I offer that experience in terms of providing something consultation role in some companies, because there are a lot of companies which look at people's experiences and tries to encash on that. So certain companies are ready to take up people in that version and benefit from their experiences. Certain people want a little more cherry on the cake, and when the person is willing, then he or she can look up certain courses, certain skills that he or she can learn and unlearn for themselves. And a lot of people I've seen at 60 plus who have dreamt of doing something, wanted to do something all their life, have started up, have initiated certain ventures, certain startup ventures for themselves, some idea which they had in mind, nurtured it for 20, 25 years, and now have the entire freedom in the world to do that. So for that, whatever skills they needed, they did a lot of research. They met people, they understood from people, they interacted with the younger population and tried to learn and pick up the new skills of the new times.
This also brings me to one question, Harsh, now, because your financial planning, is there till the end of your life. Post retirement, if you are working, does your financial plan needs to differ from what you've been doing already? How can you save? How can you invest? I know it depends on a lot of other factors that you might be in that particular situation, but how can one go about it?
So, Kavita, post-retirement is a very unique situation. Okay, so one is that it's going to be life-defining. There is going to be a total change of what you were doing prior to retirement and post-retirement. So, one is you need to keep one thing very clearly in your mind. There has to be no compromise on your cash flows. So, whatever you do, you need to be mindful of the fact that now you're not going to get an active income the way you were earning earlier. So, you may take up something post-retirement. It may not be as remunerating as it was when you were working before retirement. So one thing which is a no compromise zone is that you need to ensure that you have regular cash flows. Now, even if it means that you have to park your funds into certain some things which are secured in nature, not market linked, etc., you would need to do that. So because it's a no compromise zone, you cannot have a situation in any month that the money does not come in because of market conditions or because of some other elements, and because of which you're going to be suffering for the next couple of months. So just ensure that you have regular cash flows coming in, even if it means investing into products which are low income, low return generating. The second thing you need to keep in mind that post retirement, okay, you take a 10-year period. So hypothetically, you retire at say 60. You have to keep in mind the expenses that you incur at the age of 60 to say probably 62, 63 is going to go up exponentially after X number of years. So what you're incurring as an expense today after 10 years will again be double. So if you're incurring an expense of 1 lakh every month at the age of 60, kindly assume that at the age of 70, when you reach there, the same 1 lakh will become say 2 lakhs, for example. So you need to have incremental cash flow. You need to have some plan wherein your cash flow is not going to be stagnant, but it's going to go up every year post retirement as well. And in most cases, you will not have your income going up in the same proportion as your expenses are going up. So this is one very important phase where you have to be very mindful of what you do. You cannot be very complacent enough to say that, look, I have enough corpus now. Let me take as much risk as I can because I have visibility of next 3 to 4 years. It's not about that. So keep a very long-term view. We are moving into an era where the joint family system is disintegrating. So earlier, okay, if the elders were, if the retired individuals are not generating any income of sorts, but there were children who were living together and taking care. Now that kind of a joint family system is disintegrating even in India. So you will be all by yourself. So especially those people who are in their 30s, I think it's about time that you start thinking about that retirement phase of a period that you'll be all by yourself and then plan accordingly and plan as if you're going to live up to say 85 or 90 years of age because the advancement in the medical treatment is so rapid that the longevity is continuously going up. So while earlier people average mortality would be say 65, 75, now that is likely to go up with the advancement of medical science. So you are going to live longer with a lesser source of income. That period is going to be very difficult. Invariably, when you calculate a working life of a person could be say 30 years, and he or she is going to live for 30 years post retirement. So your working life of 30 years is going to be used to fund your
Right.
non-working life of 30 years.
Right. Gitanjali, one question to you. Now, since you're a career counselor and you've been in the industry since a very long time, I want you to help our viewers understand the kind of financial realities that one might have to face when transitioning into becoming a freelancer or any kind of a post-retirement job that we just spoke about. What's the income hit that we are talking about? How can one brace themselves for it?
As Harsh has been saying, that the
Yeah.
predictability will decrease, that mahine ke ant mein, at the end of the month, this much salary is going to come into my account, this is going to stop. So the kind of consistency I had in my life, the constants in my life will change now, will diminish now. So one, the first preparedness is this, and it actually hits the person now in the first week of every month. That flow, the cash flow is going to decrease. So it will be some interest of some investments that I've made. That's one thing. Then what kind of work I'm going to take up? Is it going to be some contractual work? Is it going to be some part-time work or a freelancing work? So freelancing work is, if I do something, I deliver and I get. So it may happen 5 times a month, or it may happen once in 5 months. So this kind of an unpredictability, one has to be prepared for it. And then the corpus is decreasing. So all this is actually very easy to, for me to say perhaps, but for people also, they know it, they have heard of it, but to actually internalize it and live in accordance with it, it becomes a big challenge. And the flow is trickling in, but the flow is being flushed out, because you are now at a senior stage. You are expected to perform certain responsibility. You are more of a giver now than a receiver, because the family also looks up to you at a certain level. You also wish to, I've not been on a holiday for about 20 years now. Now I can plan a holiday with my friends or with my spouse. So now planning that holiday, trying to make up for my unfulfilled wishes, those little things then create a big hole in my pocket. So then that's the jolt, that's the shock. So a lot of people do get, I wouldn't say depressed, but they do get hit by this kind of a transition that happens in life post 60.
So, to sum it up, Geetanjali, retirement isn't the end of earning, it's the beginning of
It's the new
choosing
beginning.
what you want to do. Exactly, exactly.
That.
On that note, thank you so much, Geetanjali, for being on the show and helping our viewers with their post retirement work strategies. Thank you so much.